I'm Missy.
And I'm Elizabeth, and welcome to You Should Meet My Friend. Today we're chatting with Beth Jarvis. We met along the sidelines of soccer and basketball when our daughters were in high school. Beth is an Army vet, an Army brat, and an Army spouse. She's successfully raised 2 children. Like many spouses, Beth has worked both traditional jobs and for many volunteer organizations that support children and military family members. After attending Georgetown and earning a graduate degree in communications, she now works for the Microsoft Military Affairs team, managing the relationships with all base organizations involved in supporting Microsoft software and system academies. Side note, she was just at an event at Fort Bragg with our podcast alum, Robin Johnson. Before we get to the professional stuff, though, one of the reasons I wanted to interview Beth is that there are 2 things that she's incredibly skilled at. The first is experiencing everything that Washington, D.C. has to offer. She is a Vet Tix power user, and also what I call friends keeping. At our monthly International Epicurean lunch this week, there was a friend she went to grade school with, teachers from our local preschool and our elementary school, and neighbors all brought together by Beth. And our Epicurean lunch is where we meet once a month at different international cuisines around town just to bust out of our ruts, was why it got started. But we're on year 3?
Year 3.
Welcome to the podcast, Beth.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
What's always fun is that I think one of our first podcasts was with what I would call one of my best friends who I've known for a long time. And even then, I learned stuff about her because I think sometimes in life you have conversations, but you don't really sit down and have a one-on-one kind of conversation. So it's great that you're willing to give us this opportunity to get to know you better.
My pleasure.
I'm going to start with the fun stuff. Have you always been someone that seeks out culture in the area? And when I say Beth and culture, it's not just parks and museums, but also concerts, theater, and the occasional march for a good cause. You're always ready, willing, and able to experience all there is to offer. So where do you think that comes from?
Probably just being nomadic, I think, in my lifestyle throughout my life. Always going to new places and wanting to partake of what the new area has to offer. And just I'd like to say I'm curious. My kids would say I'm nosy, but I would say just like always seeking out what's out there and trying to stay abreast of what's happening around me.
You seem willing to try anything at least once.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of part of it. I think it's good to challenge yourself and do things maybe you wouldn't normally do or you wouldn't seek out, but I'm always open to saying yes to new experiences, even if I don't think it's going to be my cup of tea. It's more, I like to collect those experiences because I just think it makes life more interesting.
Mm-hmm. What do you think has been your best get on Vet Tix?
Oh, wow. Seriously, hat tip to Vet Tix. I've done so many incredible things. My best one, though? Gosh, Elizabeth, I'd have to really think about that. It's not jumping to the top, but I will tell you, just going on it, there are Super Bowl tickets on it. I've gone to the A10 tourney many times, which I am a huge March Madness college basketball fan. So that's been fun. Even things like K-pop concerts, things I wouldn't normally do, but I've done just to have the experience. So they all have been fun in their own right, but there's incredible opportunities on it.
Yep. I think, Missy, you're a Vet Tix user too, yes?
Yes, we are. Utah's a little, I don't know, being in the desert, we don't get a lot of crisp looks and there's just nothing out there. But we're hoping that more and more, now that we have a hockey team and potentially the Olympics and
I was going to say,
all
and the
things.
Olympics.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So you never know. So he does look occasionally. Sometimes it's just, that's 2 hours away on a Wednesday night and we have to be in bed by 8:30 and the concert doesn't start until 7.
Right. All that matters.
All of that.
Well, Elizabeth, I feel like you and I have gone to a lot of events together. So am I missing something? Like you and I have taken advantage of some of them together.
Yeah. You're so great at inviting people along with when you get tickets. I think my best get, and it only is a good get now, more so than it was at the time, was Taylor Swift tickets.
Oh, yeah, you scored with those.
But that was like,
Nice.
I don't know, 8 years ago, like before the
Wow.
current frenzy.
But
So that
those
was,
weren't just tickets. Those were like, you were up close too, right?
yeah,
So
we
yeah,
were like in
Nice.
you had
the
like
30th
primo
row
seats.
or something like that. So it was,
Nice.
and that's what's always interesting because I refuse to pay for hockey tickets or basketball tickets. But for hockey in particular, you'll get like a third row seat or you'll be the tippy top, like most
Yeah,
highest seat. There never seems to be any in between.
so
Yeah.
true. But that's half the fun because you don't know where you're going to be until after you commit to the tickets.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
You were talking about being just adventurous. And my son, his girlfriend, she goes, and they've been together for, it'll be 2 years this coming fall. And he has brought me out of she grew up in the same town, the same house. And now she lives out here near us. And I eat things I've never eaten. I've gone places I never thought I'd go. I've done things I never thought I was brave enough to do. And so it's just, I'm glad I've raised spirited, adventurous kids so that they too will hopefully live a full life that way.
No, I love that. And I do
Yeah.
think probably as time has gone on, I've become more that way.
Yeah.
Just exposure, but also wanting to challenge and grow. And those are the sort of things you do to achieve that.
Yeah. I used to have a motto, and I still kind of do, like to do one thing every year that scares the bejeebers out of
Oh,
me.
yeah, I think that's a
You
good
know,
one.
I don't love heights, just to do something that kind of surprises myself and the
Hmm.
people around me. So,
I love that.
yeah.
Beth, has there been something you've gone to that has surprised you in a great way? Like you had no idea it was just a lark that you went, but it ended up being like really fantastic?
A lot of the things, honestly, because I find I'm more apt to participate because I'm like, oh, I'm only paying the handling fee for the ticket. And if I'm free and it sounds interesting, I might go. But one of the things, I used to really not be that into country music. And a friend of mine took me as a guest with her to a Vet Tix country thing. And I'm like, I really like country music. That, and I probably wouldn't have gone to a country concert if she had not included me or invited me.
Yeah, I think we went to see the Chicks together, didn't we?
Oh yeah, now I love country music. I go to a lot of
Yeah.
country stuff, but in the past I was shut down to that. I really didn't think that was a genre I would enjoy.
Yeah, one area I've not dipped my toe in is there's lots of comedy shows that are on Vet Tix.
There
I
are.
love comedy shows. Yeah.
There are.
So the other thing I really admire, Beth, is you seem to be great at collecting friends and not just of the moment. You went to two different high schools, and I know you still get together with those friends. And I mentioned Susan is a childhood friend, and she was at lunch with us yesterday. I guess it's a little bit easier now with social media, but like, where does that skill come from, you think?
Again, being a military brat, knowing what it feels like to be excluded, to show up as the new kid, I'm very sensitive to making sure others don't feel that way. I always like people to feel included. And I also think I try my best to show up for people that are important to me when they ask me to do things or to be there for them for things. I really prioritize my friendships and I feel like I check in a lot with the people that I care about. And I just think you have to be really conscious about maintaining friendships because there's so many distractions and so many ways to be pulled apart. But I've always been pretty good about reaching out to and connecting with people. And I'm a huge snail mailer, send card kind of person, be it a text, be it a card in the mail. So I just think just reminding people that they're important to you on trying to do that on a fairly regular basis.
Yep. So tell me a little bit about being an Army brat. Was your dad in the Army the whole time you were growing up? And
Yeah, when I was born, he was deployed in Vietnam and then he got out when I was in the Army. So I was all throughout my school years, he was in the Army. And then when I was in high school and college, he was in the Army too. So yeah, pretty much all my formative years, he was.
they're in Wisconsin now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that like hometown that they returned to? How did they pick Wisconsin?
My mom and dad are born and raised in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, which
Oh,
is
gotcha.
small town outside of Milwaukee, about an hour and a half from Milwaukee. And that's where a lot of my relatives live. Many are no longer with us, but that was always our anchor as military brats. We would go there in the summers and for the holidays. And like it feels like home, even though I never really spent time. I was born there, but I never really lived there. So that was always what I would say felt like home for us when we were growing up.
Yeah, that's what I don't really have. Missy has a hometown.
Mm.
I don't really have a hometown.
That's interesting. I
Hometown is
actually,
where my family's at, so it doesn't really matter if I grew up there or not.
on that topic, a friend of mine from Heidelberg High School, she just came out with a book that's coming out April 15th, and it's called, what is it? Conscripted by Birth. And it's on that very topic. And she is relating it to the oldest women in a military family, but how that lifestyle, even though it has a lot of pros, it also was really difficult in some ways. And that was one of the things she addressed, was that you grow up not having a home. And then when you return, it's never looks the same and it's not what you remember. And it's such a different experience not having that.
Our youngest son goes to school locally, even though he like lives up by campus. And so he's a freshman. And before he started, I said, so what are you going to tell people when they go, hey, where are you from? And because he spent high school here, but he didn't grow up here. And we didn't grow up here. And he goes, I'm just going to go, I live over there. I'm from over there or something. I'll just point and people will be like, you're weird and just not even challenging. So sometimes I'm from over there.
Yeah. And I know my sister doesn't identify, like my younger sister, she lives in New York City, and that's where the longest place she's lived. And that's where she identifies is where she's from. So I do think, and even now I identify as being from Northern Virginia just because it is the place I've lived. And having never lived in Wisconsin, I'm not really from there, but I feel a connection to it because of the familial connection.
Yeah.
Yep. I know my mom and I were chatting a couple weeks ago because she moved to Tucson, Arizona the same summer we moved here to Northern Virginia. And we were laughing about the fact that we will occasionally still describe ourselves as being new. And then we realized that was 22 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I do that.
She said, I got to stop describing myself as being new to Tucson because I moved here in 2004.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
It's like being in the same place is cool for the length of time we've been here, but it still doesn't 100% feel like my hometown necessarily.
No.
And I do think we all, having been military brats and moved around a lot, there's always that kind of restlessness. Even though I have enjoyed living in one place for this long, there is always a restlessness. And that might contribute to my sense of adventure too. Yeah. There's always that curiosity about what else is out there.
Yeah. And I always find talking to people, I'm like, oh, I don't know. We've had a normal life. And then they asked Chris at work the other day something, and they go, how many times have you moved? And he's in the military. We moved, I think he said we lived in like 15, 16 houses and moved 13 or 14 times because sometimes base housing, you'd change houses. We had to change. And they were like, what? And the one person was like, I've lived in 2 houses. And they just look at us like, oh my gosh, must be so exciting. And then I was talking to a friend about trying to get to all 50 states. And they were like, how many do you have left? And I said 2. And I hope to do that this summer or next summer. And they go, 2? And she's, my kids haven't even been to Colorado.
Wow. Now I have to ask, what 2 do you have left?
North Dakota and South Dakota.
Oh, wow. And they're not even that far from you. I thought you were going to say Alaska and Hawaii or something.
No, I've been to those. And it's funny because a really good friend of mine, I said to her, I said, hey, I got to go to North Dakota and South Dakota. And she's from Minot. And I said, you should meet us there. And she's, nope. She's like, no, I've already been there. No thanks.
Because isn't Mary, or is that who you're talking about?
Yeah, it's Mary. Yeah. And I was like, oh. And so we'll get there. We have plans to go. So
cool. I remember Mary posting she'd been back visiting family, and she goes, I just used oofta in conversation. It's time for me to go back to Virginia.
Yeah. She's awesome. And that's the other thing. My mom always said because they drive I'm from Indiana, so they'll drive out here, or they'll be going someplace. And it's always comforting because I know if we're in an accident or our car breaks down or one of us gets sick, that Missy will know somebody. And you know how it is. Now I'll be like, Beth, do you know anybody in Kansas or wherever that somebody might need help? And I've done that for people. I had a
Hmm.
friend that her daughter was in school in Florida and she needed to evacuate. So I posted it on social media. Hey, anybody have somebody where they're out of the
Path.
fray? And sure enough, somebody was like, yeah, my mom is in this town. Here's her information. Tell her she's got a spare room. So I think that's what we can all contribute is
Yeah.
you can use my network too.
Yeah. So Beth and I were just talking about that before you got on the Zoom, Missy, about that's one of my greatest joys in life is when I can connect to
Right.
people that don't know each other, but maybe this person over here needs to know
Right.
about something over here. So,
Yeah. The only problem is one time I was telling somebody about it was like a group of people and she was new and she was like somebody goes, oh, where'd you just come from? And she said a place and I said, we were stationed there. And then I don't know, the conversation progressed and I said that like 3 or 4 times and she finally stopped and snotty said to me, you don't have to lie about all the places you've lived. And I was like, no, I literally have lived all those places. And she didn't believe me. And then of course my kids always have stories at school. And I picked up my son one time from preschool and his teacher goes, I just have to check. He really did drink Guinness from the Guinness brewery in Ireland. And I go, yeah, it was a really hot day. And that's yeah, he took a sip, but she was like, okay, I just want to make sure he wasn't. But it is great that we have those shared experiences.
I think again, the military lifestyle, you're used to adjusting on the fly. Like you think
Yeah.
nothing about rolling out an air mattress for somebody
Right.
who's passing through. And I
Yeah.
just think people who haven't lived that lifestyle and I've lived in places when we moved here, we didn't have our household goods for a month. We had nothing in our house
Yeah.
when you just learn how to make do. That's just the way it is sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest sticking point of transition for me from being active duty to being fully civilian is that when you're in the military, you show up at a new duty station, and at the end of your first week, some crisis happens, and you're like, hey, could you go pick up my kids? Because I need to
Mhm.
work another half hour.
Yeah.
Something happens where you're trusting your children, or you're staying with somebody, or you're picking up somebody's dog, and it all happens so very quickly. And I just assume the whole rest of the world worked that way. And it is nothing against civilian friends, but it
Right.
just took me a while to realize that you will get there with
Yeah.
your civilian friends. It's just not an automatic, like, sure, here's my car keys. You can take
Yeah.
over the weekend.
Yeah.
Right.
And we all have been in that situation. So no matter what end you're on, you do that. But there's a university here, obviously, because my son goes there. And on social media, there's always some mom that'll be like, my kid is in the emergency room. My kid is broke down. My kid is depressed or whatever. And I'm just like, I got him. I got him. And sometimes they're really reluctant. They're like, okay, let me see if I can. And I'm like, no, I'm like right here. I can be at the ER in 10 minutes. I'll happily go sit with your kids. And I think it just sometimes I don't know, catches them off guard that some stranger would go sit with their kid. Because who knows? It could be my kid one day, that I need a strange mom to walk into
But that does make the world a better place when people are
yeah.
that. If we all
Yeah.
show up for each other, it does
Right.
make things better.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Beth, do you think Northern Virginia is where you're sticking for life or for now? I mean, I realize you've been here for 20-ish, 20 plus.
Yeah. Yeah, '01. It was when we moved here, 2001. So this is the longest I've ever lived anywhere. I like it here. People always seem astounded when I say that to people who aren't from this area or people who couldn't get out of this area fast enough. But I like living here. I we moved, gosh, going on 6 years now, and we intentionally moved to a house that was more age in place house, just in anticipation of what was to
Yeah.
come before we needed to do that. But we thought, let's do it now while we still have the wherewithal to do it. And in doing that, I feel like we did kind of cement, like we're going to stay here. But I can foresee, I am not a fan of the winter. And I can foresee once I'm retired that I might want to get away for a couple of months, do the little snowbird thing or something like that. But I think,
Yep.
and so much of it too depends on your kids and where they wind up and if there are grandkids in the future. And I see that just with my other friends, you do tend to migrate, I think, towards some of the choices that your children make. So the jury's out, but I feel like our intention right now is to keep this as our landing place for now, anyhow.
There's a lot more positives than negatives, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sometimes
yeah,
the whole DC of it, sometimes I'm like, blah.
right.
Like, can we just
And
leave
the
government
traffic.
behind?
But there's
Yeah.
also, especially this time of year, I'm like, oh, it's so lovely here with the cherry blossoms. And it really is a special place. And there is so much to do and partake of. And even our lunch group, we were commenting on that yesterday, just the diversity of our area and the opportunities we have as a result of that and all the cuisines we've been able to sample. It really is amazing.
Yep. It is really cool, for sure. Because we don't even leave Northern Virginia very much for our luncheons. And I think I missed it. We've been to Uyghur, as was one of our cuisines, Ethiopian. Those are the two more like on the edge limits of what I know. But that part's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been fun. That's been just the premise of it. And I don't know if Missy knows, but we started it with going through the alphabet. So we did A through Z. And we started by picking a country that associated with the alphabet. And we go once a month and we sample a cuisine related to the letter of the alphabet. So we started with Afghan, I think was our first one. And we've been doing it for 3 years now. And some are a little harder than others. Q and Z are particularly challenging. But we did it so like you could do like a quesadilla as a Q and you get that in Mexico. We're not totally stringent about the rules of it, but it's gotten me out of a rut, like with the restaurants I go to and just the things I've sampled. And I've certainly cuisines like yesterday we had yak and wild boar. I'd never eaten that before.
We were at a Nepalese restaurant.
Oh, very cool.
Could I
Yeah, so that's been fun.
discern yak, buffalo, and lamb from each other? Nope. But it all tasted great.
Eat it again. So
Yeah,
it
exactly.
wasn't a one and done. It was delicious.
Yeah. I remember we had a neighbor who was German and she wanted to invite us all over. There was neighborhood kids and she just was like, do your kids eat a hot dog or will they eat a bratwurst? And I was like, oh, they'll eat like, they are very, what do I want to say, adventurous when they eat. And I said, yeah, they've lived in Europe. And she was like, oh, okay, that's great. Because she just was like petrified that my kids wouldn't eat a bratwurst.
Right.
They would have to have a hot dog. And so my son, who was actually born in Germany, he goes, do you have any brötchen? Or are we just supposed to use a regular hot dog? And I thought she was going to cry. She was so happy. And she's like, I do have some. Do you want one? He was like, yeah, that's what you're supposed to eat in one. And yeah, so it is, yeah, nice to be adventurous when you eat. And
Yep.
yeah.
So I know, Beth, you're adventurous in your travel as well. What's your next big trip?
Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. I'll be heading there
Woo!
in a couple of weeks. Yeah,
Nice.
with aging parents, you go back and forth. I wish I was a little bit closer. I try to see them either they visit me or I visit them every quarter or so. So it's my time to go up there. So it's fun. It is fun to go back. And again, a lot of the sampling of the delicacies that Wisconsin has to offer. So I bring in a lot of elasticized waist pants because there will be a lot of frozen custard and all kinds of good stuff.
We have our standard questions we ask everybody,
Yep.
which we are about to get to. But I did
Okay.
want to ask a little bit about your job, your paying job.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So can you tell us about what is a Microsoft Software and System Academy? Like you've told me a little bit, but just
Yeah. So it's basically what is called a skill bridge program, and it's designed for people who are transitioning out of the military. And it's typically a reskilling or upskilling program that hopefully results in employment at the end of it. And so our program is 17 weeks long, and we have 3 learning paths. There's server and cloud administration, there's cloud application developer, and there's cybersecurity. And it is a virtual program that's delivered with live Microsoft certified instructors. And it's fully funded by Microsoft, so there's no cost for service members to participate. And the program's been around for 12 years now. Really strong outcomes, high employment rates. Microsoft hires its fair share of grads from the program. And that's the nuts and bolts of it. It's also originally was just offered for active duty transitioning, but now we also offer it to veterans, reservists, and folks in the National Guard. And then we have a spouse program as well.
Oh,
That
cool.
one's a little bit longer. That's 21 weeks long, and it's a little more compressed in terms of the day. And then we also have what we call a Microsoft Data Center pathway, which is to fill roles that are in the Microsoft data centers across the United States. So all kinds of things going on, lots of great offerings, all with really strong outcomes.
Very cool.
Yeah. And my job, my title is Senior Engagement Manager. So I work with all of our stakeholders to bring the program and to market the program and just put out the word about all of our programs and the offerings.
My husband is a successful grad, or not grad, but he did Skill Bridge for his current job when he was retiring. Great program. So
Absolutely. When I got out, it wasn't an option, but I always tell
Yeah.
people, even if it's not MSSA, which is the abbreviation of our program, it stands for Microsoft Software and Systems Academy. I'm like, definitely do SkillBridge because it
Yeah.
alleviates so much of the anxiety of transitioning because you're collecting a paycheck while you're going through it.
Yeah.
And a lot of these end up in employment by the end if you're going
Yeah.
to get a job offer. So it really is a great way to get to finish out your military career.
Very cool. I know, did not exist, I don't think, when I retired, but
Yeah, I know it came about, I think after the VOW Act, but I'm not sure when that came into law. But it was to address homelessness and at-risk populations, which were the lower ranking individuals, especially, were struggling as they transitioned.
is that what your typical student in MSSA is, a more junior?
Yeah, I'd say E5 to E7 is probably the sweet spot. At the data center pathway, probably E6 and below. That's geared a little bit more towards the lower enlisted, but the others are probably E5 to E7, I would say.
And then your work takes you to exciting places like Fort Bragg.
Don't be too jealous. Yeah, I do. I do get a couple good ones. I usually get to go to Hawaii once a year. So that's always, I look forward to that. We were stationed there, so I still have some friends there. So that's always fun to go back. And I like to go back to Fort Carson, which is in Colorado. And I usually get there once a year at least and still have, Maeve was born there, my daughter. And then even Fort Bragg's not bad because Jack, my son, was born in Wilmington, North Carolina. So Fort Bragg and Camp Lejeune I go to, and neither are too far from Wilmington.
Awesome. Very cool. Should we move on to our standard questions?
Sure. I'll start off and then we'll take turns. Beth, what is a quote, a Bible verse, a mantra do you live by? It can be a few words or a bunch of words.
This one was a little bit hard for me because I'm not that intentional with how I live. And as I was reflecting on this question, I realized that I'm like, gosh, maybe I need to get more intentional. But I feel like I'm somebody who I try to make the world a better place. And that's not so grandiose, but I try to be kind. I try to compliment people. I try to include people. I don't like people to be uncomfortable. I'm a classic middle child. I'm that military brat who knows what it feels like to sit alone at the lunch table. So that's a guiding light for me, I would say. And then another comment, a friend of mine who I've known since 7th grade, he recently said to me, and I'm going to butcher it because I don't speak French very well, Beth, you always had, even in 7th grade, you had a joie de vivre. And he goes, and I love to see that you still have that, even as someone our age, because a lot of people lose that as they get older. And I took that as a really nice compliment. And I'm like, that's
Absolutely.
the goal, to try and live that way.
Yeah.
Can't say that was my idea, but when he said that to me, I'm like, I like that.
Yeah. Absolutely. So our next question is, what is a song or musician you put on blast when you're having a bad day, or a song that brightens your day?
And again, I don't have like my one go-to, but I have always, I would say, to answer it, I've always loved Motown and especially the Supremes and Diana Ross. And that I like to listen to her. And I saw her, that was another one of my Vet Tix. I saw her recently and it was just like one hit after another and it was amazing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's amazing. And I see she's coming to Wolf Trap and I'm going to try and see her this summer because she was amazing. And then I also like the Grease soundtrack, not going to lie.
I believe that was the first album I ever owned.
A friend of mine, we used to go back and forth. She was Sandy and now I'm blanking on John Travolta's character.
Oh, yeah. What was it?
Yeah, what is it?
How can I not come up with that? But we would go back and forth and sing the parts of Summer Lovin'. And so I have good memories.
All I can think of is Kaniki. And as a proud member of the Musical Lovers Club.
It was Danny, right?
Oh, Danny, there you go.
Right. Danny. Yeah.
Come up
so I was Danny.
Okay. What is a food or a smell that invokes a good memory?
Okay, this was easy because it's my grandma Bueller, who is now deceased, was a wonderful baker. And her signature item were chocolate chip cookies. And she always had a big gallon ice cream container, plastic container, always in the same cupboard in the house. And so anytime we would visit, we would hightail it to that counter and grab out the chocolate chip cookies. So that's a wonderful food memory that I have.
Do you have the recipe?
It's just the one that's on the back of the Toll House, but I swear mine never tastes like hers. Hers were always crispier. And so I think she lied and did something different, but she always said it was just the one on the back of the Toll House.
My husband can't throw out a good ice cream bucket for that very reason. You can put cookies in it, and his grandmother always made snickerdoodles and put them in an ice cream bucket. Yeah.
You can never have too many ice cream buckets.
Never.
I wonder if that's a Midwestern thing then. Did your husband grow up in Indiana too?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. We went to high school together. And last night, I posted about this. My sister lives nearby with her husband, and a restaurant that I love advertised pork tenderloin sandwich. And where I'm from in the Midwest, we have these they're usually really thin pork tenderloins. And the tenderloin will be bigger than your plate, but they still use like just a regular bun, a standard bun. And this restaurant was advertising them. And so we went, and me and my sister were like, this tastes like Indiana. Oh my gosh. You almost have an emotional reaction to tasting something that tastes like home. And so I told the owner, I'm like, spot on. You did it so well. The only thing you need is sugar cream pie to go with it. So I gave him my sugar cream pie recipe. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, I love it. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like music, food does take you home or it takes you back. That's amazing. The associations that you can have.
Yeah. And I don't know, my mom's a good cook too, but my grandmothers were both school cooks. So I was sharing this with a friend yesterday. My one grandmother couldn't give you a recipe that didn't feed 200 people. Really? Do I need a bushel of apples for apple crisp to feed 4 people? But anyways, yeah. Food's a big trigger for me too.
Yep. I'd rather go to a good restaurant any day over, I don't know, some other fun thing.
Oh, yes. Like that is one of my favorite social activities is going out with friends and eating. And Beth, I would be a good tag along person. I may not always have the idea, but I am always the friend that's down for a road trip or try a new restaurant or go see a movie or go to this concert.
Oh, you would be on my short list then because I love those.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
You don't want to work too hard to find someone to join you. So those are good friends to have.
Oh, yeah. And I will say, me and my husband and my sister and brother-in-law, we try to do one kind of community cultural activity a month, like whether it's go to the live theater or a street fair or whatever. The university has a lot of international events. And so, yeah, just to keep that going. So, yeah.
That's great.
Okay. What you got, Elizabeth?
Am I next? What organization do you support that you'd like to share with our listeners? And it's okay if you have more than one.
Yeah, I think It's probably the umbrella of any sort of veteran service organization. I tend to gravitate towards them. There's so many great organizations to support. And I used to be involved with Alice's Kids. I was a
Mhm.
board member. And I actually did, when I went to grad school, I did my capstone project on them. And that's how I got connected to them. But then I realized, as great of an organization as it wasn't speaking to me the way like the USO and other things that I've been involved, even ASAP, Armed Services Arts Partnership. I find that's where I find my community and my people. And that's where I also find I want to give my time and my resources to.
That's how I know about Armed Services Arts Partnership because I went to your stand-up comedy graduation show. And I'm like, what is this organization? This is so
Wait,
cool.
wait a minute. We forgot to mention that Beth is a graduate of what, the Comedy Academy? Because this intrigues me.
No, when you said you'd like to do things that scare you, that was something that petrified me.
That is awesome.
I consider myself an introvert and
Yeah.
I don't like the spotlight. And to do that really put me out of my comfort zone. But what I really enjoyed was the writing part of it.
Yeah.
And now I'm actually doing another class through ASAP with Rich Tellerico, who is the writer for Key and Peele, who did that. He's done some really funny skits on Comedy Central, and he also wrote for SNL, and he's got an incredible background. But I find that's the part I enjoy, like the behind the scenes stuff and giving words for other people. But the performing part, I did not like. It was a great experience, and I highly recommend people, like you said, it's good to get out of your comfort zone, and it does make you grow and also puts you closer to figuring out what you do and don't like doing. Great experience. And I did learn a lot and have recommended that course to a lot of people.
I have a book around here somewhere of all my work. My day job gives me a lot of material for stand-up comedy.
Imagine.
And I've said, if I ever get brave enough to do it, I have a whole set. And it sounds dark, but it's probably going to be about funerals and all the things that I observe.
Oh, I hope you're journaling that because I think
I am.
That would be incredible. And a lot of times there is that gallows humor. That can be funny stuff.
Yeah.
I think that too. I want a fun, happy party, which I unfortunately won't be able to attend someday when I pass away. I think
I'll make sure it happens.
Yeah. I think, don't you have a playlist too, Missy, of songs not to play at your funeral or songs to play at your funeral?
Yes. And that would be part of my stand-up comedy set is one day I driving down the road and I was like, oh, I hate this song. And it was probably Sledgehammer. I hate that song. It's stupid.
I hate that song too.
Yeah. And my son was just like, got out his phone and I go, what are you doing? He goes, I'm making you a playlist. And I didn't believe him. And then one day he actually showed me on Spotify. It's called Mom's Funeral Playlist. And it's all the songs I've ever said I hated or this gives me like it's a bad memory associated with something bad or whatever. So if you come to my funeral, just know I didn't pick the set list. So.
My mom told me once, I think we were going to, it was my aunt's funeral, and my cousin, who is big into photography, had put together this really lovely slideshow of pictures of my aunt's life. And for whatever reason, that day, my mom was like, I don't want to have a video slideshow at my funeral. But I'm like, okay. But also, you're not going to be there.
Right.
So I can make lots of promises.
That's right. My mom, one year for a white elephant gift, she went through all of her printed pictures that she got from the drugstore over all the years of her life. And she put together this album of what is this even a picture of? Or it's like a basketball game from the top row of the stadium or the back of somebody's head, or it was just it was this mix of pictures. And we laughed until we cried. And then everybody fought over that stupid album of all the mistakes. And so I told her, I said, that's going to be your funeral. I'm just going to take every lousy picture and put it in a slideshow. So
Perfect.
Was that intentional? What was her inspiration to do that? Or she just wasn't a very good photographer?
No, I think she just was. No, she has a pretty good sense of humor.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, it was meant to be because it's White Elephant and who wants all
That's
these
funny.
pictures? But she probably had a photo album laying around. And instead of just giving the photo album, she put a whole bunch of erroneous
That's really
pictures
funny.
in there. And bless her heart, and I'm starting to turn into her because I can't take a decent picture. My eyes are closed, my mouth is open. So that's probably what'll be my slideshow with Sledgehammer playing in the background.
And I think your sons, they'll be on it because.
Oh, they will. Yes. And I've said I'm going to script my funeral because I don't want them telling all those embarrassing stories, all the stupid stuff I've done, honestly. So there may be a script. You can talk about this story or this story,
But not that story.
Yeah, just don't tell them I lit up the room or my favorite hobby was cleaning or something. Lastly, we always ask this of all of our guests because it helps us to reach new people that we can talk to. But who's a friend that you think has an interesting story to share and who we could interview next?
I was thinking about that. I think everybody has an interesting story to tell. And that's why it's hard to narrow it down. But
you have just landed on the entire motto and mission of this podcast.
That's right.
Yeah, but it's true. Everybody has a story. And nobody thinks her story is compelling or captivating, but everyone has a story.
Yeah.
And when you start asking people questions, I do that all the time with Uber drivers because my people have amazing stories.
They do.
But one friend I was thinking who I think is really interesting, some of the stuff she's done. Her name's Shannon Wallace, and she lives in Seattle. And I walked the Camino last summer with her in Spain.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's what she does. That was her fifth one. And she took a group of us, or 15 of us, and she was our leader. And she does that. And she also does organizational development. And she recently came out with a course where she takes mostly C-suite type of people, but she takes them on the Camino. And it's also coaching, professional coaching, but also to have the Camino experience. And she's doing her first one. I think it's in June. But this is something she's hoping she can start to do and do it like 3 times a year because she's really passionate about the Camino and just what you get out of it and the meditative journey. And she's very spiritual. And I think she'd be really interesting. She's interesting to talk to.
Yeah.
Very cool. Plus travel. I love talking about travel.
Yeah. She travels a lot for her job too. She's been to a lot of interesting places. And she's from South Dakota. So Missy,
maybe she'll take me to the Dakotas.
Right.
I don't know why I think I need an escort. Is it the Wild Wild West? I don't know.
Yeah. She'll have some hot tips on what to go see.
There you go.
This is true. Yeah. Anyways. But okay. We will try to connect with her.
Yeah, she's great. I'm happy to give you contact information.
Yeah. I don't know that I want to walk the Camino, but I want to talk to people who've walked it.
You're right.
Yeah.
We did it the bougie way where you didn't carry all your stuff and we had a hotel every night. You still walked, but it was kind of a little not as challenging to do it that way.
I don't think I need to carry all my stuff and sleep on the ground to have a spiritual experience.
Yeah, I didn't need to prove that. I'm like, let all those 20-somethings do that. And they stay in the hostels. It's a different experience when you're older. But still really an interesting journey and very much more moving and emotional than I expected.
Yeah. An author I follow, him and his wife did it. And then he got hurt or got really bad blisters, and they were doing it like carrying their own stuff and staying in hostels and didn't have reservations. So every night it was a challenge to find a hot meal in a room. And so that sounds stressful.
It's hard enough. I wouldn't want that added burden. Like we had ours, and this was part of doing it with her, which was so great. It was all done ahead of time. So we knew every night where we were staying and when we were starting, and we had van service and restaurants, and there was a lot of pre-planning, which as a planner, I appreciated.
Yeah. And you've gotten connected with a Camino group in the DC area, right?
Yeah, there's groups called Americans on the Camino, and they have chapters throughout. And there's one here locally, and they do walks every now and again. They do potlucks, they do coffee meetups. And that's been fun. I've only partaken of a few events, but it's a really welcoming group, and it's interesting to hear about everybody's. And a lot of people have done multiple Caminos. Like the guy who's in charge, Jim, he's done. I think he's on his 18th Camino or something, and he's in his 70s. Yeah, he's done a ton. So
pretty incredible. How many miles did you do on your trip?
Because I think
we like hundreds of miles.
Yeah, it was, I think we did close to 150 kilometers. I think we walked for, it was either 6 or 7 days. So yeah, it was healthy walks every day. Some days were longer than others, especially the days you got lost. Yeah.
What? This ancient trail doesn't have lots of signs along the way? Well, we can't thank you enough for your time and also taking a leap of faith by podcasting with us. And thank you so much. And I continue to learn lots of great things about my friend Beth.
Thank you. Thank you, Elisabeth. And Missy, nice to meet you and talk with you. And
yes, nice to meet you.
Yeah, you're always welcome to our lunches if you're ever in town.
Okay. And hopefully you come to my stand-up comedy routine someday.
For sure.
In the front row.
I'll help you write your material.
Laugh at all the right places.
I would love that. I'm going to hold you to that.
Okay. Nice to meet you, and have a good Friday and a good weekend.
Thank you. Thank you both. Okay. Have a good weekend.
Okay. You too.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
She just can't help but just, I don't know, smile at the whole entire time that she just seems like a joyful person. And
yeah, she's the kind of person when she reaches out and says, I have tickets, and if I can't make it, I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry.
I hate to say no to her. Yeah.
But she's right. She's definitely very welcoming, and that's awesome because it's just in your adult life, you run into cliques and stuff like that.
For sure. And she's very much a throw caution to the wind type of person. It's like she does that, but then she's very intentional about making friends and keeping friends. And
we didn't talk about, but she always posts like a review of whatever she just went to see.
Oh, nice.
So she mentioned going to see K-pop. And I remember her review was first and last time I will go see K-pop. But she posts some pretty honest reviews, especially because we'll get some pretty out there dramatic productions now and again. And she'll be like, oh, this was like some tough stuff to take in, but very interesting. And she is a really good writer and posts some really great reviews of what she's gone and done.
It's always nice to have a friend that gives you an honest opinion about a place or an event. And I don't know, I always like to find somebody like, hey, have you ever gone to this venue or this stadium or whatever? What can you tell me? And where can I park? And is it going to be a hassle? And so she sounds like in the greater DC area, she's that person. So she's probably been to all the theaters and concert halls.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there was a theater she just went to I've never been to, and they're about to get a musical there. There's actually an Obama musical.
Oh, really?
And she goes, hey, it's coming to the Shakespeare Theater and we should go see it. And that way you can also go check out this new venue. And I'm like, heck yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm always that person I may not be very good about inviting people because I have a fear of rejection. And obviously Beth does not.
I do too.
But I am always like, I'm that friend that, yeah, I'll go to that.
If you need a plus one, I'm here for you.
Yeah, I am anybody's plus one.
Yeah, exactly. Find us at facebook.com/YSMMF podcast and Instagram at YSMMF podcast for episode announcements. Thanks.
What I was going to say about that. I had a train of thought. Anyways, keep going. Cut that part out.